lovers, book readers, book friends. Welcome to Read This Book. I am your book hostess, LaShonda, bringing you this week's book review of my favorite series. So for the next couple of weeks, I will be sharing with you my favorite series. I am talking about books that I have read at least 3 times or more the entire series because they were just that amazing and I think you should know about it. So I want to start off with the very first series that I read that just blew me away, that had me captivated, that had me clutching my pearls, that had me in my feelings, that was just amazing. There are a few authors that I fangirl for, and I fangirl for author D.A. Young because the very first series, the very first IR series that I read was her series, The Men of Whiskey Row. Yes, I know, you're like, there's not a man on the cover. The man is in the book. Don't worry about it. But this is the first book, Sweet Obsession, in this series called The Men of Whiskey Row, which is about the Sullivan brothers. There's Jackson, Darby, and Casey, and they are smart, they are sexy, they are protective, they are funny, they are sad, they are tragic in some ways, but they have this strength, they have this resilience, they love who they love, and they are protective about their people. And y'all, the Whiskey Row series is everything. It's just everything. It is everything fabulous about a love story. It is everything about being resilient, about shooting your shot, about opposites attracting. This series has it all, and I am completely biased. Jackson is my favorite. He is the star of book 1, and it is the story of him and Noelle. But before I get into that, the Sullivan brothers are orphaned, I would say, at an early age due to the death of their mother, and they are taken in by the Romakov family. I know you're like, Romakov, that sounds Russian. You are correct, but don't worry, because the Romakov family is an interesting set of characters, and you get to meet them in this series. But let's go back to this book. So as I said, this book, take it in. It's the story of Jackson and Noelle. And so Jackson works for a PR firm. He's kind of like a crisis manager. And he has secretly been in love with Noelle Kramer, whose father is one of their clients that they kind of do PR for, and they also do security for. And Noelle is a chef, and she's overseas studying and comes back, you know, to make her way. And she has secretly been in love with Jackson in her whole life because he's always been around, because again, he's the crisis manager for her father, and also Darby does security. So they've known each other forever, and he has secretly had a crush on her too, but he would never make a move because clients, you know, don't want to, you know, mix business with pleasure. And he, you know, really thought that she was entirely too good for him. So an opportunity presents itself where he needs to protect her, and protect her he does. Yes, he does. They both are trying to fight the attraction between each other, but it is like off the charts. It is off the charts, the chemistry between them. And when they give into it, child, you talking about hot? I'm talking about hot, like, ooh, I had to clutch my pearls, because D.A., listen, they got it, they got it in. They burned up the sheets, burned up the pages, and I was here for it, because I was like, yes, it's about time both of y'all done. But of course, you know, Jackson has a past. He's dealing with things that happened from his childhood. You know, she's dealing with an ex that don't want to remain an ex, and he's presenting problems. And so Jackson is trying to do what's right, what he think is right for her, you know, which is not get involved, but I need to protect her, but they can forget about it. And so these things happen. They end up in Tennessee, back at the Romakov, the Tennessee mountains, at the Romakov town. And Noelle falls in love with it. She falls in love with the place, and Jack is just like, crap. Now I gotta come back here to the place of my nightmares. But he's back with Noelle, and they are living life, and things are going good. And then when I tell you drama pops off, like, y'all, it just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what are you gonna do? And so now Jackson has to deal with, okay, I'm in love with her, I have to protect her, you know, but he is still kind of like holding back. And Noelle is like, listen, if you gonna be with me, you gonna be with me. I want all of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. And I was like, yes, Noelle, yes. And so, you know, we're going through, and you're like, get it together, Jack, get it together. You're gonna lose your woman. And then she gets into an accident, a car accident, and he loses his mind. When I tell y'all that my eyes leaked, because it was such gut-wrenching emotion. Like, you could feel his pain, you could feel the anguish, you could just feel like the regret, like all these emotions just hit you. And I couldn't. At that point, I could not. I was like, I have to know how this ends. I have to know how it finishes. And it is a love story. D.A. Young writes in such a way where it is layers. It's not just a simple love story. It's not just a simple, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, but I'm too good for you. She adds in the layers. She adds in, and it's not even complexity. It's just like more flavor. It's just more things. She introduces you to more people that will play a role in all of the books that are coming in this series. But she just builds these layers of layers that just envelop you like you are in your favorite blanket or your favorite PJs, and you just want to snuggle in it and not leave. Not to mention that Jackson is rich and sexy and fine, and he is just, it's my first book boyfriend. But this is their book. This is their story, book one. And then the subsequent books picks up on the stories of Darby and Casey. And you're introduced to more of Alexi and Vivian. That's Alexi and Vivian Romakov are the ones that took them in and practically raised them. And so you get to meet them, and you start learning more about the Romakov family. You start learning more about Jackson's friends and the business that they own and what they do. And child, he ain't just no crisis manager. Let me just say this. They all have some skills. They all have some things. But at the end, it is really truly a love story. It is really truly about family. It is just an amazing series, and you really should read it. I promise you that once you read this book, you will not be ready to stop. You will immediately get the rest of the books in the series. And I believe there's like five in the series, because again, it picks up with Darby and Casey, and then you also get introduced to Guy and Holt, and then there's also Alexi and Vivian's stories as well that rounds out the Men of Whiskey Row series. And let me just say this, Alexi Romakov, he can get it every day of the week, every day that ends in Y, because Alexi Romakov, as the patriarch of the family, he is a bad man. Trust me, read this series. Read it. If you've read it, hit me in the comments and let me know. If it's your first time hearing about D.A. Young, hit me in the comments and let me know. I promise you, this is a series that you will enjoy. Now, before you go, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you know when I'm dropping the next series, so you know when I'm telling you about the next great big book. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like this video, and if you will be so kind, please share with your other book friends because they need to know about all the book goodness too. So don't keep this to yourself. Share it with your peeps. So thank you for joining me for the first of the series. This is The Men and Whiskey Road. The first book is Sweet Obsession. The author is D.A. Young. So until next time, read a good book.